This is a clove of garlic. And this is another clove of garlic. Welcome to Japan. All right, so let's jump right into it. None of this introduction bullcrap. You know who I am. The world would have us believe that the universe that we have today is the result of a single event that transpired an incredibly long time ago. Essentially, it believes that everything that exists in the universe today was at one point, at first, so to say, all within a very small space. Very small. Very, very, very small. And in doing so, having the entire universe now in a very small space, this was a little spit of matter that was unfathomably dense, right? But instead of imploding on itself, it exploded by some event, spontaneously, I guess, that resulted in the universe that we have today. And some point along that line, although it is incredibly long, or supposed to be incredibly long, life just as mysteriously and as spontaneously began. There was a transition, one would have to assume, from non-living matter to living matter. And not just one life form, but life form that could procreate. Then there had to be more than one of these, right? That is to say, that life began and it had to procreate. And then at least one of those had to procreate again, and at least one of those had to procreate again, and sooner or later two of them were able to procreate, and so on and so forth. Anyways, the end result of that single organism with a genetic code of infinite possibility, potential, ultimately is the root genetic code of all the biodiversity we see today. That is, of course, assuming that scientists believe that DNA is the basis of life, and that you cannot have life without some form of DNA. It doesn't have to be human DNA. It doesn't even have to really be DNA as we understand it today. It could be, say, a less evolved form, but the function would have to operate in a similar manner. At any rate, contained within whatever that mechanism would be all the potentiality for the biodiversity you see today, like I said. Further, your being as a human being, your being is a result of that process. And that what transpires through the system of your body and your mind, the mental landscape, is a series of cause and effect sequences similar to that of a domino chain. Because when you line up a line of dominoes, there are a series of forces at work. One is particularly the design of the domino fall. Does it do a little twirly thing? Does it do a little up and down thing? Does it go up some steps, down some steps, whatever? And then there is the physical properties of each domino involved. They might be all the same. They might be different. Whatever. And, of course, gravity and other physical properties that come from the environment that affect each of those dominoes. And there is given to the system a spittle of energy, just like what happened in the Big Bang. A spittle of energy, and boom, you just see it all take off. And when the last domino falls, you die. Right? Now, a domino chain that would accurately represent the complexity necessary to account for the human being would be quite vast. And perhaps not really worth trying to represent in real dominoes, ever. But the mechanisms at work, I hope you see, are essentially the same. And yet, the domino chain, in order to fulfill its entire destiny, as it were, as its own self, its own system, its own domino chain, falling precisely as it was set up to fall, going up the little set of steps, down the little set of steps, knocking into the bell, knocking one domino into a cup of water, knocking one onto a skateboard that rolls across the street, hits the dog, which hits the lamp post, which falls over, that starts the next domino chain. And perhaps even there was a miscalculation in one of these chains, that it branches out and was supposed to send one to hit a symbol, but the little dominoes were too far away, and or placed too far away, and cut short. Well, that was an imperfection, right? We all have them. But sooner or later, it can't sustain itself forever. And it does finally end. And the energy that animates as brilliantly, even if you see some of the ones that people can come up with, they can be pretty spectacular. They're just dominoes. Sooner or later, though, it does expire. And the energy that was put into the system leaves the system. And that's that. And yet, our awareness is not necessary for that process to occur. No one believes that a domino is aware, or a domino chain even is aware of the energy surging through it, but you are. And if we are to believe that a reductionist worldview is correct, then we cannot believe that your awareness has any bearing on your behavior, that it is merely an observer and nothing else. If behavior came from your observation, that would be that'd be free will. Do you see that? Your awareness itself is totally different. It makes no sense in the system. No sense. So the only way we can understand awareness itself, and indeed this is the word that they use, is a user's illusion. That the awareness you have of the energy ripping through your system is merely a mistake, an error of our Darwinian world. Whoops. I wonder if you buy into that. Perhaps you can guess my feelings on the subject. But it would seem to me that our awareness does, in fact, serve as a basis of some of our actions. Of course, awareness itself, what is that? Oh, we're getting into difficult territory here. It's really important, though. Awareness sees the world on the basis of a criterion, even before anything built in the brain. Let me say that again. Awareness sees the world to a criteria, even before that which is in the brain. It's the criteria that allows the brain to function the way that it does, that allows the genes to make the brain in such the way that it does. It allows you to make all the rational connections. Find me the gland for reason in your brain. You won't find it. It can't exist. Indeed, even your imagination is that which can conceive infinity. You can't convince me, or anyone reasonable, I don't think, that attribute came from a finite world. Your mind is your connection with something other than the finite world. Your reason is evidence of agency. It's the equation to the universe. Reason is. And it comes to us a priori. I don't expect to convince people who are not interested in this kind of idea in a 10-minute video. I don't think that would be reasonable of me. But for those of you that are interested in the subject, I hope you found this interesting. And oh yes, I'll make more videos. But until then, cheerio.